Hi there. How are you today? I hope you're well. It's kind of chilly today, but I'm in my car so I can show you my messy hair. Alright, so today I want to talk to you about the future. You know, back in the 1940s, they had this weird computational device that was used to help hack the Nazi codes. It wasn't a computer as you would think of it now. It wasn't even a computer as I would think of it from when I first started using computers in the 1980s. And of course, it wasn't like the game consoles that started coming out in the I think it was the 1970s. Yeah, the 1970s. It was more of I guess you could say, an analog device, because instead of using a lot of logic circuits and stuff like we are used to, as far as I understand it, it was more of a physical process. So anyways, not too long after that, I guess, they started coming out with computers using languages like COBOL, and if you watched the TV show, or sorry, the movie Hidden Figures, which focused on three number crunching black ladies that worked for the military to crunch codes. You'll learn about that, and you'll discover that these three black ladies were extremely important in the success of the programs that they were involved in. And then in the 1970s, the first PC computers started coming out. When I say PC, I mean personal computer. PC does not actually mean, in any real sense, that it runs Windows. A PC is any computer designed for personal use. It could be running Windows or Linux or Apple OS or any of the other options out there. If it's meant for a personal user, if it's not meant as like a server or a terminal for a server or whatever, that is a PC. So when you say PC to refer to a Windows computer, you're not actually correct. But whatever, you guys go ahead and carry on with the bad terminology. That's on you, not on me. Anyways, in the 70s, they also started coming out with game machines. In fact, my family had the first game machine, the original Pong, which was basically, I don't know if you've seen it, but it was a black background, and there was a white line in the middle, and then there was a small white line on the left and a small white line on the right, and a ball that was just a square. That was bouncing back and forth as you used your, not really a joystick like you would think of it now, but it was a knob that you would turn to make the paddle go up. You turn this way to make the paddle go down. You turn this way, and we got that, and I think we used it for all of a couple of weeks before we got bored with it, because that's all you could do. Just play ping pong. There's none of the thrill of playing real ping pong and being successful at it, and it was just boring. Anyways, back in the day, it went from crap like that to crap from Atari, which apparently is gaining a resurgence in popularity, but I can't imagine why I don't even understand why people like looking at Minecraft or Roblox when they've got better choices out there. So these machines kept on getting better. There was ColecoVision, and then Nintendo, and Sega, and all these other game machines coming out in the 80s that were much more powerful, along with personal computers that were less expensive, although still, ranging well above $1,000 in the early 80s, maybe more than $2,000, maybe even more for some of the more sophisticated brands. And you keep in mind here, back in those times when I really got into programming and using computers, 64K bits, kilobits, not bytes, 64 KB was considered a lot of memory, and there were no hard drives. We didn't even have floppy drives most of the time. We were using cassettes, those tape cassettes to store data, which really sucks because you can't randomly access things like you can with a floppy disk or a CD or a DVD or a hard disk. You have to. It's all sequential. It's all in order. There's no random access. But that didn't stop us. It was frustrating, but it didn't stop us. But it wasn't as bad as when I remember when I was young, back in those times, back in the early days of computing, that my school was actually using cards for inputting data. So they would have a machine that they'd use to input student data by punching holes in slots in a card, and then they would take that card, put it into a card reader, and the machine would interpret where the holes were, and that would mean this Glenn McGrew, age 13, from blah 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 blah, A in science, A in math, so on and so forth, so that they could have this database of information about their students. I remember sitting in the main office and seeing those cards and asking about that. And in fact, I don't have it with me right now, but my class ring on it, even though I graduated from high school in '85, my class ring does not show something modern-ish like a floppy disk. It shows those paper cards and spool-to-spool cassette reels, or not cassette reels, but tape reels, which in some places are still very commonly used for backing up data. So anyways, it has progressed from there, and for a while the technology was increasing so rapidly that you could buy something and in a month it would be obsolete, or not a month, I'm sorry, a year. It could potentially be obsolete. And sometimes that was just because of bad design, but sometimes it was just because the new stuff that came out was so much better than the old stuff. But a lot of it was hype, A lot of the times they were like, well, it used to be used to be half a gigahertz, and now it's 0.6 gigahertz. Ooh, wow, that's great. In the 80s, in fact, computers were kind of catching on. There was even a TV show called Max Headroom, and it was, if I remember correctly, it was kind of a detective type of story. And this, hold on a second here. I'm just checking to see where I need to get off the highway. In this story, oh, bother. Hold on just a sec. Alright, I'm back. Just had to make sure I didn't miss my turnoff. So anyways, Max Headroom was pretty famous because basically they were displaying a caricaturized man's head on a computer monitor. He had blonde hair, he wore shades, and the image, for whatever reason, he didn't look like a real human being, but the image would glitch, so sometimes it would jump a bit and stuff like that, or he would repeat himself several times. And it was popular enough that they had video game and stuff like that, but I don't know, it wasn't that good of a TV show, really. Which is kind of leading me up to the point of this monologue that's boring you to death right now, and that is that technology is becoming so advanced that the fake artificial intelligence used for Max Headroom, which was just somebody reading a script, pretending to be a computer that was helping them solve crimes, is close to becoming a reality. We have got algorithms, which are complex equations that as part of an artificial intelligence or AI can make decisions. Many years ago, Deep Blue defeated the Grand Master of chess. The Grandmaster has been defeated by a computer. So we're at the point where in a strategy-based game, versus a computer, given a rigid set of rules, a computer will almost always win. Now, that may not sound like much to you, but we're getting to the point where they won't need to have a rigid set of rules in order to win. The computers eventually will be able to have what's called fuzzy logic and work with unknown rules, figuring out the rules as they go, as the AI goes along and stuff like that. So, eventually, one thing that's always bothered me about sci-fi movies is they always show that when there's a space battle and things get really, really bad, the guy, the pilot or the hotshot in the movie always turns off the AI that's fighting the ships and does it manually. And that always burned my buns because I knew, even when I was young, which was like a zillion years ago, I knew that there was no way that a human could outperform a computer in that age, in that advanced age, where they had space flight, they had warp speed, they had all this other stuff,
Take exit 14, then keep right.
Alright, hold on here. There was absolutely no way. It was just, I think, ignorance on the part of the movie makers. I think they just did not understand just how powerful
Continue on Ohio 126 West for
computers
5 miles.
will become. And I say will, because they're still working on it. They're still, back in, 2014, Elon Musk was tooting his horn about how we'll be doing this and that and the other thing in a few short years. And, it has come and gone, and they still haven't perfected self-driving cars. But I'll tell you what, I'd love to have a self-driving car because I'm not a big fan of driving. And I'd love to just be able to sleep in my car or eat or do a video or talk to somebody, whatever, instead of having to worry about the dangers of the road and the hassles of navigation. But I'm still not really getting to the point. So, let's get to it. We now have software that is good enough at interpreting human speech that you can dictate to your computer what you want written. You can, with some errors, but you can do very well that way. In addition, you can instruct your artificial intelligence, be it Siri, Alexa, Cortana, or what's the other one? I forgot. Anyways, you can direct the AI that is built into your operating system to do something for you. And this is like magic coming from a time where if I wanted to drive somewhere, the only way I could drive somewhere was by using a map, so I know how to get there. And now instead of a map, you've got a map app. It does all the work for you. You don't have to think. You don't have to memorize. I find it harder now to remember how to get places than I did when I had to use a map. Granted, it's a lot easier and safer using these things than looking at a map while you're driving 60, 70 miles an hour. Oh boy, I keep on dodging the subject here. So, what I'm trying to get at here is the programmers are getting smarter at making stuff, making software that can perform tasks that we normally perform. A lot of jobs are going to go out the window. When the AIs get it good enough, customer service will go out the window. Tech support will go out the window. Driving, Uber, Lyft, taxis, truck drivers, that's all going to be gone. Heavy equipment operators, that'll be gone. Because a machine can do the calculations of a heavy equipment operator much faster than they can do. It's just a matter of time before they figure out how to make it work right. I mean, they've gone from robots not being able to walk with 4 legs to now robots are getting to the point where they can jump on 2. Do more than that. And that all is, that's fine. That's fine, right? What's not fine is technology always has a dark side. Improvements in technology come at a price. Now, I'm not just talking about how the military uses technology to kill. Okay? What I'm talking about here is military or government or political action groups or spy organizations or criminals or just individuals or companies or whatever. We're getting to the point where you will no longer be able to trust what you see on the internet, because they will be able to fake realistically looking and sounding and acting people who are important or not even important. It doesn't matter if it'll get the job done that they need to have done. So, you might be watching TV and suddenly there's a message on the news that says the president is giving a sudden briefing that we're blah 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 is happening, and the weird part of it is that's not actually what's happening, because the president himself is sitting in his office. What the heck's going on here? Why are they saying I'm on the news? Sorry, I've got a little allergy problem. That's pretty bad. It's messed up my lungs. We will get to the point where you won't be able to tell the difference between an AI-controlled fake person image, like on your computer, complete with mannerisms and sounds, and the real thing. Now, somewhere down the line, and I'm sure this is going to be many more years to come, somewhere down the line it'll get to the point where technology will be so powerful that you won't even need the medium of a monitor screen. You'll be able to be fooled with your naked eye, seeing something that you think is there, but is not there. Now this, for those of us who are somewhat technically savvy, who are analytical, ask a lot of questions and don't automatically jump when the news says boo, which is unfortunately not enough of us, maybe we'll be able to suss out the truth and realize that we're being hoodwinked. There are a lot of people out there that don't understand won't understand and will be led along by the nose, fully believing that that simulated person is real. And that bothers me a lot, because that will mean that everything will be taken out of the control of people and put into the control of whoever has the technology to do that stuff. Now, think about it this way. In the past 20 or so years, since September 11th, our government has taken more control using the Patriot Act. It has refused to stop torturing, despite the fact that it has signed international agreements that ban torturing. It says, Obama said waterboarding isn't torture, despite the fact that torture experts, people in the military who train soldiers how to resist torture, admit waterboarding is torture. And if you don't believe me, watch a video. It scares the shit out of me watching that. Even if my lungs weren't messed up from my allergy, it would scare the shit out of me. Because it's torture. I would rather have the Chinese water torture done to me than the waterboarding. And they have slowly been taking more and more control. The Department of Homeland Security has been given broader and broader powers to surveil us, to murder American citizens overseas who are considered a threat. And it's just gotten crazy. There's a lot more than that, but the important thing I want you to understand right now is it's coming really soon. Okay? I'm not trying to sound paranoid or something, but in the very, very, very near future, you're going to be seeing simulations
Half a mile, take exit 22 for Hamilton Avenue.
of people. And you won't be able to tell if that person is the real person or is the simulation. So, for example, if you go on YouTube, I don't remember, but do you know Will I Am of the Black Eyed Peas? He's pretty famous. Well, he was asked by a team developing one of those kind of AIs to participate in it, and he enthusiastically joined up with them. They took photographs of him from every angle. They recorded his voice, and they have accessories, like he's got glasses he can put on, and you can see his hands, you can see other things. And the video I saw, it was still kind of imperfect. There were still indications that it wasn't really Will I Am. However, I can easily see, given the mental state of some people, that people could be tricked even by that primitive simulation.
Turn right after First Financial Bank on the right onto Compton Road.
So, if you can believe that Will I Am is now being simulated by an AI, I don't know if he's going to be singing and rapping while he's being simulated, but he at least talks and sounds like Will I Am. Then you can bet your dollars, you can bet everything on the fact that eventually, in the near future, you will not be able to tell the difference between a simulation and a real person. And that is dangerous. It's dangerous on so many levels.
Right after First Financial Bank on the right onto Compton Road.
So, it's bad enough now with the news being full of yellow journalism, and videos of important people being edited to make that person look really good or really bad, depending on who's doing the editing. It's bad enough now. Hard enough to know when the news media is lying to you and when they're telling the truth, or when they're mixing them together to make it seem more real. But when you've got simulations that look and sound and act like the real thing talking to you from the screen, it's going to be a bad day, for the beginning of a bad time for the average humans, because it will allow totalitarian dictatorship
onto Elizabeth Street.
called the USA to become fully controlled in ways that George Orwell could not have predicted, even if he'd known more about computers. Anyways, that's all for me for now.
Turn left.
I hope you'll think about that, and I wish you happiness and success. And please remember, it pays to be skeptical.